Dan the Wheelman here. Throughout the month of September, myself and my colleagues at the Automobile Journalists Association of Canada, or AJAC, are going to be participating in AJAC EcoMonth, whereby we sample a bunch of alternatively powered vehicles, BEVs or battery electric vehicles, hybrids, plug-in hybrids, maybe even a hydrogen car, to see what they're like to live with on the day-to-day. Last week, you would have seen me driving the Toyota RAV4 Prime, one of the newest members in the kind of EV or hybrid world. Today, I'm going to go to the other end of the spectrum and drive one of the pioneers, one of the OGs in the EV motoring game, the Nissan Leaf.
So yes, this Leaf really is it's kind of the big daddy, not big daddy, but the OG, if you will, of the kind of BEV or battery electric vehicle, full EV essentially, BEV world. It beat the Chevrolet Volt to the punch back in the day by just a little bit, and the Volt wasn't even a BEV, it was actually a range extended hybrid. It has a gas engine in it to give it some more kind of range. Basically, this Leaf does not have that. And it did really well for Nissan. Made about 180 kilometers of range, which was at the time good and kind of what was to be expected at the BEV or EV level. But, range anxiety quickly set in for people, I think, and they started asking for more. And so we come to this, which is the Leaf Plus. And what Nissan's done is there's actually still a regular Leaf too. And the non-Plus version already makes more range than the original Leaf did, to the tune of about 215, that's 15 kilometers. This is the Leaf Plus. It gets a 62 kilowatt hour battery and a 160 kilowatt motor. And thanks to those specs, it makes in S trim, which is kind of the entry level of the Leaf Plus, it makes about 363, or a claimed 363 kilometers of range, which is actually really, really good. I'm going to take it on a drive. I've already been in the city with this vehicle. I'll show you a little more about city driving later on, because it's a really neat, actually I can introduce it now. One of the main reasons, one of the main inventions when it came to, or kind of new tech, one of the main new technologies that was added to the Leaf when it was redesigned, this is the second generation of the vehicle, was something called e-pedal, which is basically one pedal driving. It's just, essentially, it really drives brake regeneration for your EV motor way up. So when you release the throttle, it's like you're hitting the brake fully, and it'll come to a full stop just like I did now without even hitting the brake. I'll demonstrate that more in a shot later on. But what that does, it helps with regeneration, so it kind of gives you more range. And of course, you can plug it in to a level 2 charger, trickle charge, or if you want, a level 3 DC fast charging unit as well to give you more range more quickly. So right now I'm at 362 kilometers of predicted range through my computer here, and of course it looks at the habits I've shown, how I've been driving to kind of calculate all that, plus what accessories I'm using. I'm using AC right now. It's a muggy day here in Vancouver, so it's takes all that into account. Since I've got 362 kilometers of range right now, I've got 16.4 kilometers. That's 16.4 kilometers on my Odo. We'll see how well those kind of line up. I'm also going to be on the highway with this during this drive, and I'm expecting to see range drop a little bit as I hit the highway. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But for now, let's talk a little bit about the Leaf itself. Aside from all the powertrain stuff, this is basically a compact hatchback. As you might be able to see, as you can, I've got my baby seat back here. There's room for my 2-year-old there. She's actually almost 3, I should say. Sorry, Maya. So there's room for her in there. I've got it in. She can climb in herself, no problem. It's a nice low floor. And the battery pack, is it mounted in the floor of this? I'm not sure. It might be in the floor or also just be under the rear seats. I'm not exactly sure, but hopefully not cost you somewhere. It's mounted so it doesn't cause you as much to lose as much interior space. So compact hatchback. When it got redesigned, it looked. They gave it some new, basically some nice new looks, different headlights. The headlights on the old Leaf were a little bit googly. They were a little bit alien, and they were actually shaped for a reason. They were part of the aerodynamics package of the Leaf, but they've modified that now. So this looks a little more traditional, I would say. Looks more like a non-EV vehicle, and a lot of times, even now, as EV and BEV and PHEV, which is plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, as they continue to proliferate, people still aren't always down with looking like they're driving something super futuristic. They like a traditionally styled vehicle, but they want the EV powertrain. So the Leaf, I would say, they've actually dialed it back a little bit in terms of how kind of eye-catching it is when it comes to its styling. I like it. It's handsome, and it fits well with the rest of the Nissan lineup, which is not something you could say with the last Leaf. It really was kind of unto itself, kind of like the Juke was. This one, though, looks like looks much more like the Versa Note, or when it comes to like the headlight shape and grille shape, it's got the V-Motion grille up front and so on. So that room for me is fine. I'm comfortable in here. I've got a flat bottom steering wheel, which I don't even know if I really need. Flat bottom steering wheels are to give me more space for my thighs here, but it's quite a tall vehicle. It's a very high roof, lots of headroom. So I don't know if I really need that, but I have it, and that's great. And power is good. Power is rated at 200, I'll double check here, 214 horsepower and 250 pound-feet of torque, which is probably all you really need for, this is a family-moving vehicle. It's mostly going to be used for urban grind. You don't need 350 horsepower for that. So, but since it is a direct drive transmission, you get that power right from the get-go. There's no delay between throttle tip-in, which is more like just a switch, tip-in to acceleration response. So that's nice as well. And this being the SV, I've got the leather seats with some kind of suede inserts here. I've got dual zone climate control, which is nice. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all that good stuff. No sunroof. Sunroof adds weight, and we want to save weight to increase our range in these vehicles, so there is no sunroof, and I don't even think you can get one on the Leaf. I'll double check that, and I'll put it on the screen if you can. I don't think that you can. So none of that, but a roomy interior and a pretty responsive powertrain and very smooth riding. And of course, it's so quiet, right? I mean, obviously, it's going to be silent. This is it's an electric vehicle. The only noise you're really going to get is the road noise. And wind noise is low because it's quite a slippery vehicle. And you've also got, of course, no powertrain noise either, as this is a EV vehicle. So, yeah, lots. You can tell why this does well. Rides incredibly smoothly, too. I forgot to add. It is very, very smooth riding. I have no issue with that. As I go over some expansion joints here, you hardly feel them. Like, this is a nicely responsive, very smooth riding, small, compact sedan, hatchback. I mean, it's not something that can always be said for hatches at this level. So really nice for all that. And there's another Leaf there, as I see there on the highway. You see a lot of these all over the place. These are a pretty popular vehicle in the world today. And Nissan has done very, very well with their Leaf line, with with their Leaf vehicles. So, and for good reason too. So stay tuned. I'm going to show you a little bit about what that e-pedal driving looks like, and we'll check back as we near the end of this drive to see how my range has matched up with what the computer's telling me I'm going to get. So for the first bit of the video, I was in the city, and now I've joined the highway here, and even at speed, I like the zippiness I'm getting. A lot of times with EV powertrains, you get that great launch off the line, but when it comes to having to kind of accelerate once you're at speed, I'd say in gear, but there aren't really any gears to speak of, so it's not exactly the right way to say it. But once you're at speed, you don't tend to get the zip. But this one here, you can go from, let's have a look here. So let's drop it down to, so here is 90 kilometers an hour. And if you hit that throttle, yeah, you're at 100 lickety split. Like this is it's got some zip even once you're kind of up and going, which is not something that can always be said for vehicles of this. In fact, the Prius Prime, or sorry, the RAV4 Prime I recently drove, you can see that video right here. I found that once you're at speed, it's not an EV, it's a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, but it would kind of, doesn't have quite the push as this does. Then again, that's a heavier vehicle. The RAV4 Prime, all-wheel drive, all that stuff. So some of that's to be expected. But here, it's got some good zip for sure. Very good zip. I like it. Lots of great features here too. I've got a heated steering wheel, digital climate control, leather seats with suede inserts that are also heated to 2 levels. I've got adaptive cruise control, lane keeping warning system, blind spot system. Lots of good features. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, I should say. Lots of great features, but it is all those features that do add to the weight and can lead to kind of a lower range because there's more weight for the powertrain to haul around. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our journey here, which was some city, but mainly highway driving. I've driven about 70 kilometers, give or take 1 or 2 kilometers, and I've gone through about 100 kilometers of charge. Now, while someone's like, whoa, wait a second here, they were overestimated. Well, maybe, but what happened is, since when you're on the highway like this, you tend to use a lot more juice as you're driving. I was averaging about 100 kilometers an hour, so that will tend to eat into your range. But I've still got 290 kilometers of range here, and I'm pulling into a charge station now. It's actually a fast charge station, so we'll see how that all goes. Just finished my little charge experiment there. I reported before on the amount of charge I use during my drive. I just finished charging at the DC fast charger kind of hub, which is at a gas station in Abbotsford, British Columbia. It's out of Petro-Canada. And so I plugged in I had 72% of a charge thereabouts when I arrived at the charge station. And I plugged in, and this was all on my Instagram story if you might have seen that. And I plugged in, and I was there for about 48 minutes thereabouts, and I got from 72 to 98% in that time. Now remember, when it comes to fast charging, usually the fast charge rate slows down once you hit an 80% charge on your car's battery. That's because any charging done after 80% on the Leaf or most any other plug-in EV or BEV you're going to find, it causes unnecessary strain on the battery system or on the batteries of the car. So at 80%, it'll still keep charging, but it'll slow down quite a lot to almost like a trickle rate. So basically why I'm saying this, because don't think I was there for 45 minutes. Oh my God, you're there for 5 minutes. Only got about 20. I went from 72 to 98. So you got about 25% of charge back. Aren't you supposed to get 0 to 80% in just 40 minutes or 30 minutes, which is usually what is being claimed for fast charging? Yes, that's correct. From 0 to 80, you can get the fast charging. Once you hit 80, it slows way down. So you won't get 100% charge in a short time, but you'll get 0 to 80 in a very short time, between 20 minutes and 30 minutes, which is, depending on the vehicle, which is more than enough to probably get you to your next spot when it comes to your route planning and so on. So that was kind of a neat little experiment, actually. I've never really looked that closely. I've driven a lot of these BEVs before. I've never looked that closely about how all the charging works, and so it was kind of cool to see how it all goes. And of course, there's more and more apps coming out these days that let you plan your route. Charging system here, charging station here. This charging station has this many chargers that are being used by this many cars, and so on. So there's all sorts of tools to help you out there when it comes to planning your route for these BEVs, which should help reduce your range anxiety a little bit. A couple of things I wanted to demonstrate with the 2020 Nissan Leaf Plus. First is at below 40 kilometers an hour, it emanates a very distinct, very space agey sounding kind of buzz from the powertrain. And then once you go past 40, the sound disappears. What that's for, I think, is that so when you're in low speed environments, like in a parkade, where people might miss you, not see you coming because you're so quiet, there's no noise, there's no exhaust, no engine noise, that is a very artificial sound to warn people of your presence. Once you crest 40 kilometers an hour, your chances are you're on a faster road where people not being able to hear you isn't as big of a concern. So while vehicles like the Mustang have an extra loud exhaust system to make it louder for more kind of driver enjoyment, I guess, the Leaf has an extra loud space agey computer sound thing to warn people of its presence. That's cool. Number two is the e-pedal. E-pedal basically makes for one pedal driving. So you hit this switch right here. Now it activates e-pedal, and what that does is as soon as you release the throttle, the brake regen is at its highest. So you get a lot of brake force, but not even touching the brake. You can go all the way down to 0 kilometers an hour in the Leaf while in traffic without ever having to use the brake. And once you come to a full stop, as we're going to demonstrate here, see, it's braking so much that I'm going to be braking too soon before I even get to the intersection. So I'll demonstrate here. So I'm not using the brake at all, and it takes me all the way down to 0. And once at 0, it stays there. You don't have to hold the brake. You don't have to hit a hold button on here or anything like that. You just let the system do its thing. And then as soon as you hit the accelerator, of course, you start going again. Now, why is there a switch, you ask? Why wouldn't you want this all the time? More regen is better for an EV car, right? Well, yes and no. Yes, but the thing is, the brake force is so powerful, at least this is what I'm finding, in e-pedal mode, that it can be a little uncomfortable, actually. I was driving with my wife recently, and she was wondering, she's like, what the heck are you doing? What's all this braking? I'm like, yeah, I'm like, that's the way the system works. And I realized that it's almost too heavy, and which is why you probably only want to leave it in e-pedal mode. At least this is what I would do if I was in kind of stop and go traffic or maybe slower traffic downtown in the city, for example. It's a little bit uncomfortable to leave it in all the time. It also operates when you're at speed on the highway. There is an e-pedal allowance, but it doesn't give you anywhere near as much force when you release the throttle when you're at speed on the highway. That would be too dangerous. And I'm not exactly sure what the algorithm is, how much more speed is taken off or how much more brake force is applied depending on what speed you're traveling at. All I know is that from what I've experienced is in the city, when you're going at city speeds, 30 to 50 kilometers an hour or whatever, and you release that throttle, it brakes quite heavily. On the highway, when I was traveling at 100 kilometers an hour earlier and I tried it, you do feel it drag a little bit, but nothing like in the city, because again, that would just be too dangerous. So that's the Nissan Leaf's e-pedal mode for me. It was one of the big kind of ads, in addition to more range, when the Leaf got redesigned. All that to say, though, this is a well-engineered battery electric vehicle. You can tell Nissan was one of the pioneers in this business. They've done a great job the second generation of the Leaf. The e-pedal is a great feature, as we just saw. The range I got, the chargeability. The more I spend time with this Leaf Plus and the experimentation I've done with the charging and seeing the kind of range I actually get, you can start to see how BEVs are slowly becoming possible as daily drivers. As the charging network kind of catches up, and as we start seeing more larger batteries with longer range, stuff like that, you can start to see how single car families don't necessarily have to completely ignore BEVs or EVs at this point. There are some challenges for sure. Used to be they wouldn't even consider getting a BEV. Like I said, the first Leaf only had about 180 kilometers on it. That's not realistic, and that's in the most ideal possible conditions. But now at least some of the features and the technology has advanced to the point where I think even single car households can at least consider what a BEV might do for them, especially if maybe they don't have a car at all. Maybe they bike around a lot or whatever, and that's their mode of transportation. They do want to upgrade to a car, but they still want to stay environmentally conscious, but they want to get all the kind of niceties that come with owning a car, I could see how these are becoming a realistic option. The Leaf Plus is a great vehicle. They've done a really good job with it. It drives really well. It's comfortable. It's nice inside, and it's incredibly well engineered. So, quick video. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. If not, no hard feelings. You can also follow me on Twitter at Dan the Wheelman and on Instagram at Dan the Wheelman as well. Stay tuned to the channel for some more AJAC EcoMonth stuff from me. Driving a lot of cool kind of eco cars. I've got the hydrogen-powered Toyota Mirai coming up. I've got the new Lexus ES Hybrid. I've got the new Sonata Hybrid coming. The Chevrolet Bolt I'm going to be trying out as well. So lots of really cool kind of eco-specific vehicles coming up on the channel over the next little while. So I hope you'll tune in to check some of that out. Thanks a lot, guys. Sayonara, folks.